Maya Chen stares at the red medical cooler in her back seat, its contents more precious than gold, 4 human hearts that will save 4 lives, if she can make it through the rising floodwaters in time. Her Honda Civic's engine sputters as murky water creeps past her windows, and she knows that in exactly 24 hours, every soul in Millfield will line the hospital driveway at sunrise, not knowing whether to call her a hero or a fool. The betrayal still burns in her chest. 3 hours ago, Dr. Kellerman had looked her straight in the eye and said the words that would haunt her. "You're not authorized, Chen. You'll kill yourself and lose 4 lives." But Maya had seen Mr. Rodriguez's granddaughter's drawing taped to his bedside monitor, again a crayon heart with "Get well, Grandpa" scrawled in pink letters. Some things were worth the risk. The morning had started like any other Tuesday at 5:47 a.m. Maya's alarm clock buzzed against the chipped nightstand in her studio apartment, the same sound that had jolted her awake for 847 days straight since graduating nursing school. She'd fumbled for her phone, squinting at the weather app through sleep-crusted eyes. Partly cloudy, high 73 degrees F, 10% chance of rain. Hurricane Elena was still 200 miles offshore, a lazy swirl of clouds that meteorologists called minimal threat to the mainland. Maya had laughed, actually laughed, as she pulled on her Target scrubs, the navy blue ones with the small tear near the left pocket that she kept meaning to sew. The coffee maker gurgled to life in her kitchenette, filling the air with the bitter aroma of the discount blend she bought in bulk from the warehouse store. Steam fogged the small window overlooking the parking lot, where her 2018 Honda sat between a rusted pickup and a minivan held together by duct tape and prayer. Maya sipped her coffee from the mug her mother had sent from Seattle, "World's okayest daughter," in fading purple letters. The liquid scalded her tongue, but she welcomed the shock. Another 12-hour shift at Millfield General awaited. Another day of inserting IVs and monitoring ventilators and pretending her 47-0 in student loans didn't exist. She grabbed her badge from the hook by the door, the plastic laminate showing a photo of her younger self, bright-eyed, hopeful, believing she could change the world one patient at a time. Maya Chen, RN, ICU. Employee ID, 4,471. The face in the picture still smiled like nursing school had taught her that good intentions were enough. The drive to the hospital took 11 minutes through quiet suburbs where sprinklers whispered across manicured lawns. Maya parked in space 47, her usual spot in the employee section where the asphalt had cracked into spiderweb patterns. She walked through the automatic doors at exactly 6:00 a.m., her sneakers squeaking against the polished floor. "Morning, Maya." Janet, the night shift supervisor, looked exhausted as she handed over the patient charts. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her graying hair had escaped its ponytail in wispy tendrils. "How's Mr. Rodriguez?" Maya asked, though she already knew the answer would twist something inside her chest. "Same. Still waiting." Janet's voice carried the weight of 18 months, the length of time their patient in bed 7 had been on the heart transplant list. "His oxygen levels dipped overnight, but he's stable now. Family's been here since midnight." Maya nodded and took the charts, her fingers automatically flipping to the familiar pages. "Mr. Rodriguez, age 64, cardiomyopathy, ejection fraction 15%. Behind the medical jargon lived a man who had worked construction for 40 years, who had raised 3 daughters as a single father, who had never missed a single one of his granddaughter's soccer games until his heart started failing. The ICU hummed with its familiar symphony ventilators breathing in mechanical rhythm, monitors beeping steady heartbeats, the soft whoosh of pneumatic doors opening and closing. Maya made her rounds, checking IV drips and adjusting oxygen flows, her hands moving with practiced efficiency, while her mind wandered to the growing pile of bills on her kitchen counter. Patient, chart, medication, monitor. At 8:30 a.m., she finally reached bed 7. Mr. Rodriguez sat propped against white pillows, his brown eyes alert, despite the nasal cannula delivering oxygen to his failing heart. His granddaughter's drawing was taped to the monitor, just as Maya remembered a crayon masterpiece of hope drawn in pink and purple. "Buenos dias, Nurse Maya," he said, his English still thick with the accent of his childhood in Guatemala. "How are you today?" That was Mr. Rodriguez dying slowly, growing weaker each day, and still asking how she was doing. Maya felt that familiar tightness in her throat, the one that came from caring too much in a profession that demanded emotional walls. "I'm good, Mr. Rodriguez. How are you feeling?" "Like a fish waiting for water," he said with a wry smile. "But today feels different, you know? Like maybe today is the day. Maya checked his vitals, noting the slight irregularity in his heart rhythm that had been worsening over the past week. His wife, Elena, dozed in the recliner beside his bed, her hand still clutching his even in sleep. They had been married 42 years. The morning passed in its predictable routine until 11:47 a.m., when Maya's phone buzzed with a weather alert that would change everything. Flash flood warning. Millfield County? Hurricane Elena unexpectedly intensifies. Seek higher ground immediately. Maya glanced at the window and frowned. The sky was still gray, but nothing seemed threatening. Just another weather app being overly cautious. She silenced the notification and returned to her medication rounds, unaware that 80 miles away, Hurricane Elena had suddenly exploded into a Category 3 storm and made a sharp turn toward shore. By noon, the first drops of rain began tapping against the hospital windows. Maya paused in the hallway, watching the droplets race down the glass like tears. Something felt wrong, not just the weather, but something deeper. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. Her phone buzzed again. Then again, and again. Emergency alert. Evacuate low-lying areas now. The automatic doors burst open with a pneumatic hiss, and Dr. Sarah Kellerman storms into the ICU like a woman possessed. Her usually perfect hair hangs in wet strands around her face, and her white coat drips water onto the polished floor. Maya has never seen the chief of surgery look anything less than composed, but now panic flickers in her steel-gray eyes. Emergency meeting? Conference room? Now. Dr. Kellerman's voice cuts through the mechanical symphony of the ICU. All available staff. Maya abandons her medication cart and follows the stream of nurses and residents down the hallway. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, she watches the parking lot disappear under a growing lake of murky water. Cars sit partially submerged, their hazard lights blinking uselessly under the surface. Impossible. 2 hours ago, the sun had been shining. In the conference room, Dr. Kellerman paces before a wall-mounted screen showing a weather radar that looks like a nightmare painted in red and purple. Hurricane Elena sits directly over their county, a massive spiral of destruction that had accelerated from Category 1 to Category 4 in less than 90 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a situation. Dr. Kellerman's voice trembles with barely controlled urgency. The National Weather Service is calling this a 1,000-year flood event. 14 inches of rain in 3 hours, with no signs of stopping. Maya's phone buzzes again. Another weather alert. She glances at the screen and her blood turns to ice. Catastrophic flooding. Roads impassable. Avoid travel. The main highways to Regional Medical Center are completely underwater. Dr. Center. Kellerman continues. Route 9 is closed. Interstate 75 is closed. The bridge on Millfield Road collapsed 20 minutes ago. Dr. James Walsh, the cardiothoracic surgeon, raises his hand. What about the helicopter transport? Grounded. Winds are sustained at 90 miles per hour with gusts to 120. The FAA has issued a complete flight ban for the region. Maya's heart begins to hammer against her ribs. She thinks of Mr. Rodriguez, of his granddaughter's crayon drawing, of the way he'd said today felt different. Dr. Kellerman, what about organ transport? The silence that follows lasts exactly 7 seconds. Maya counts them. That's why we're here, Dr. Kellerman says finally. Regional Medical Center has 4 viable organs that need to reach their recipients within the next 6 hours. 4 hearts matched to 4 patients across 3 hospitals. If those organs don't make it, she doesn't finish the sentence. She doesn't need to. Maya's throat constricts. One of those patients is Mr. Rodriguez. Yes. Dr. Kellerman's voice softens. Along with a 34-year-old teacher at St. Point 1, Mary's, a 16-year-old athlete at Children's Hospital, and a 28-year-old mother of twins at Metro General. 4 lives hanging in the balance. 4 families praying for miracles. 4 hearts that could beat for decades more if only someone could drive 47 miles through hell. Dr. Walsh leans forward. What about the organ transport companies? LifeTrans declared it impossible. MedExpress called it a suicide mission. The state police have suspended all emergency vehicle traffic except for immediate life-threatening rescues within city limits. So what do we do? The question comes from Jenny Rodriguez, a pediatric nurse whose voice cracks with the weight of watching children die. Dr. Kellerman closes her eyes for a moment. When she opens them, Maya sees something she's never witnessed before in the unflappable surgeon: defeat. We wait. We hope the storm passes. We pray that 4 hearts can survive longer than medically possible. Maya's hands shake as she stares at her phone. A text message from her brother in Seattle glows on the screen. Saw the news about the hurricane. You okay? She's not okay. Nothing about this is okay. In bed 7, Mr. Rodriguez sleeps fitfully, his oxygen levels dropping with each passing hour. His wife, Elena, holds his hand and whispers prayers in Spanish, her voice barely audible above the storm howling outside the windows. Their granddaughter's drawing flutters each time the ventilation system cycles, the pink heart seeming to pulse with its own desperate rhythm. Maya walks to the nurse's station and pulls up the weather radar on her computer. The hurricane hasn't moved. If anything, it's gotten stronger, a monstrous eye of destruction sitting directly over their town like some malevolent god demanding sacrifice. But Maya knows these roads. She's lived in Millfield for 26 years, has driven every back street and farm road since she got her license at 16. She knows which areas flood first and which drainage ditches can handle the overflow. She knows the old Miller Farm Road that runs parallel to Route 9, elevated on higher ground because old Tom Miller was paranoid about flooding when he built it in 1987. Her Honda Civic sits in the parking lot, half submerged but still functional. The engine had turned over when she'd checked it an hour ago, and the water hadn't yet reached the air intake. With careful navigation and a lot of luck, she could make it to Regional Medical Center and back. Maya Chen has never been a hero. She pays her bills late, eats cereal for dinner, and watches reality TV instead of reading medical journals. But she's also never been a coward. She pulls out her phone and dials Regional Medical Center's transplant coordinator. This is Maya Chen, RN, calling from Millfield General. I understand you have 4 hearts that need transport. Ms. Chen, I appreciate your call, but we've already explored all options. The roads are impassable. Not all of them. I know a back route that might still be clear. I can be there in 2 hours. A pause. Ma'am, are you saying you want to attempt organ transport in your personal vehicle during a Category 4 hurricane? That's exactly what I'm saying. I can't authorize that. The liability alone. Then don't authorize it. Just have the organs ready. Maya hangs up and stares at her reflection in the computer screen. Her face looks pale, determined, and slightly insane. She thinks about her father, who died when she was 19 from heart failure because his insurance wouldn't cover the transplant he needed. He'd waited and waited and waited until waiting became dying. Mr. Rodriguez will not die waiting. Not on her watch. She finds Dr. Kellerman in her office, staring out at the flooded parking lot with the expression of someone watching the world end. Dr. Kellerman, I want to volunteer for organ transport. The chief of surgery turns slowly, her gray eyes focusing on Maya with laser intensity. Excuse me? I know the back roads. I can get to Regional Medical Center and back with the hearts. Absolutely not. You're not authorized for organ transport. You don't have the training, the equipment, or the vehicle certification. And even if you did, I would never allow... Those people are going to die. And so will you if you try this foolish stunt. Along with 4 irreplaceable organs. Dr. Kellerman's voice rises to a near shout. You'll kill yourself and lose 4 lives instead of saving them. Maya thinks of her father's funeral, of the closed casket because he'd waited too long for a heart that never came. She thinks of Mr. Rodriguez's granddaughter, who might grow up without ever really knowing her grandfather. With respect, Dr. Kellerman, they're already dying. The answer is no. Final. Dr. Kellerman turns back to the window. You're dismissed, Nurse Chen. Maya walks to the door, her hand on the handle. Outside, the storm rages with supernatural fury, but inside her chest, something quieter and more dangerous takes root. Determination. I wasn't asking for permission, she says softly. Dr. Kellerman spins around. If you take those organs against my direct order, you'll be fired. Blacklisted. You'll never work in medicine again. Maya meets her gaze. Mr. Rodriguez has grandchildren he hasn't met yet. She leaves Dr. Kellerman shouting behind her and walks straight to the supply room. Medical transport cooler, ice packs, backup power source, GPS unit, emergency radio. She moves with mechanical precision, her hands steady despite the earthquake in her chest. At 2:47 p.m., Maya Chen loads a red medical cooler containing 4 human hearts into the back seat of her Honda Civic and drives into the storm. Behind her, Mr. Rodriguez's heart monitor shows an increasingly irregular rhythm. Beep, 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 beep. Then nothing but the flat, endless tone that means time is running out. The rain hammers Maya's windshield like bullets, each drop exploding into a starburst of water before the wipers sweep it away. Her Honda's headlights carve two weak cones through the gray apocalypse, illuminating debris that shouldn't exist on roads, tree branches, lawn furniture, what looks like someone's kitchen sink floating past her passenger window. The medical cooler sits secured in her back seat like a red coffin, its contents worth more than everything she owns combined. 4 hearts, 4 chances. 4 families who don't know that their salvation is riding through hell in a 2018 Honda Civic with 127,000 miles and a crack in the windshield. Maya grips the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles have gone white. The GPS on her phone shows her current location as data unavailable, the blue dot lost somewhere in the electronic confusion of the storm. But she doesn't need technology. Every turn is burned into her muscle memory from a childhood spent exploring these back roads on her bicycle. Left at the collapsed mailbox, right where the old oak tree used to stand. Straight through the dip where Farmer Henderson always said the road would flood when hell freezes over. Hell hasn't frozen, but it's sure as hell flooding. Water rushes across the roadway in sheets, transforming familiar streets into rivers. Maya's car pushes through 18 inches of water, then 24. Then God help her 36 inches that reach nearly to her door handles. The engine coughs once, twice, then settles into a determined rumble. "Come on, baby," she whispers to the car, the same words she used to say during college when the old Honda struggled to start on cold mornings. Just a little further. Her phone, mounted on the dashboard, shows 47 missed calls from the hospital. She doesn't need to check the caller ID to know it's Dr. Kellerman, probably planning to fire her in 17 different ways. But Maya can't think about that now. Can't think about anything except the weight of 4 hearts in her back seat and the image of Mr. Quote Rodriguez's granddaughter's drawing. Get well, Grandpa. The Miller Farm Road appears through the rain like a mirage. Maya takes the turn carefully, feeling her tires slip momentarily on the flooded asphalt before finding purchase. This road sits higher than the main routes, elevated on a ridge that old Tom Miller built because he'd survived the flood of '67 and swore he'd never be caught off guard again. Bless you, paranoid Tom Miller. The water here is only 12 inches deep, manageable, though Maya's heart still pounds like a war drum in her chest. She passes abandoned cars sitting empty on the shoulder, their owners long since evacuated to higher ground. A fire truck sits sideways in a ditch, its red lights still flashing uselessly in the gray afternoon. Maya checks her watch. 3:23 p.m. The organs have been out of their preservation systems for 36 minutes. She has maybe 4 hours before irreversible damage begins, maybe 5 if she's lucky. The math is simple and terrifying. Her phone rings. She glances at the screen Regional Medical Center and answers without taking her hands off the wheel. Maya Chen. Miss Chen, this is Dr. Patricia Voss, transplant coordinator at Regional. Are you seriously attempting to reach us during this storm? I'm 20 minutes out. Ma'am, I need to advise you that this is extremely dangerous. We've had reports of cars being swept away, people drowning in their vehicles. Dr. Voss, do you have 4 hearts that need transport or not? A pause. Yes, but... Then have them ready. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Maya hangs up and focuses on the road ahead. Through the rain, she can see the outline of Regional Medical Center's tower, its emergency lights cutting through the gloom like a lighthouse. Almost there. Regional Medical Center's emergency bay looks like a war zone. Ambulances sit stranded in 3 feet of water, their crews working frantically to move patients to higher floors. Medical staff wade through ankle-deep water in the lobby, carrying equipment and supplies to safety. Maya parks as close as she can to the building, her Honda now sitting in 30 inches of muddy water that sloshes against her doors. She takes a deep breath, grabs the empty medical cooler from her passenger seat, and steps out into the storm. The water is shockingly cold, soaking through her sneakers instantly and climbing up her scrubs to mid-thigh. Rain lashes her face like tiny whips, and the wind threatens to knock her sideways with each step. But she pushes forward, the empty cooler held high above her head, fighting through the current that tries to sweep her away. Dr. Voss meets her at the emergency entrance, her eyes wide with disbelief. She's a small woman, maybe 50, with graying hair and the kind of precise movements that come from decades of handling life and death situations. But right now, she looks stunned. You actually made it. I told you I would. Maya follows her through the flooded lobby, their feet splashing with each step. How long until the organs degrade? At current temperature and preservation levels? Maybe 4 hours. 5 at the absolute outside. Dr. Voss leads her to an elevator that still functions despite the flooding. Miss Chen, I have to ask, are you insane? Maya thinks about the question as they ride to the transplant suite on the 5th floor. Is she insane? Probably. Sane people don't drive through hurricanes. Sane people follow orders. Sane people don't risk their careers and their lives for strangers. But sane people also let other people die when they could do something about it. Maybe, she says finally. But those 4 patients don't care about my mental state as long as I get their hearts to them alive. The transplant suite is a monument to medical precision, sterile white walls, surgical lights that could illuminate an operating theater, and equipment worth more than Maya's annual salary. Dr. Voss leads her to a specialized preservation unit where 4 medical coolers wait like treasure chests. Hearts 1 through 4, Dr. Voss says, her voice taking on the formal tone of medical protocol. Matched recipients at Millfield General, St. Mary's, Children's Hospital, and Metro General. Transport time critical 4 hours maximum from preservation to implantation. Maya checks her watch. 3:47 p.m. I can make all 4 hospitals by 7:30 if I push it. In this storm, Miss Chen, visibility is near zero. The roads are flooded. You'll be driving through the worst hurricane to hit this region in 50 years. Then I better get started. Dr. Voss helps her load the 4 hearts into her medical cooler, each one nestled in its own specialized preservation chamber. They work in silence, the weight of what Maya is attempting settling over them like a shroud. 4 hearts, 4 lives, 47 miles through hell. Why are you doing this? Dr. Voss asks as she seals the cooler. Maya thinks of Mr. Rodriguez's quiet dignity, of his wife Elena holding his hand through the long nights, of a little girl's crayon drawing that says everything about hope and love and the refusal to give up, because someone has to. The trip back is worse. The storm has intensified, transforming the world into a liquid nightmare of wind and water. Maya's Honda fights through floodwaters that now reach her windows, the engine straining against the current that wants to sweep her away. But the back roads hold. The Miller Farm Road, blessed Tom Miller's paranoid creation, keeps her above the worst of the flooding. Maya drives with supernatural focus, every sense locked on the road ahead, the precious cargo in her back seat reminding her of the weight of what she carries. Her phone rings constantly. Dr. Kellerman, hospital administration, even her mother in Seattle who must have seen the news. Maya ignores them all. She has 4 hours, 4 hospitals, 4 chances to prove that sometimes the impossible is just another word for necessary. At 6:15 p.m., she pulls into the emergency bay at Millfield General, her Honda covered in mud and debris but still running. The parking lot is a lake, but Maya doesn't care. She's made it. She carries the medical cooler through waist-deep water, her scrubs soaked and filthy, her hair plastered to her skull. The automatic doors part before her like the gates of heaven, and she staggers into the lobby where a crowd of medical staff waits. Dr. Kellerman stands at the front of the group, her face a mask of fury and disbelief. Nurse Chen, you are in direct violation of hospital protocol. You have endangered yourself, this facility, and... Maya sets the cooler on the reception desk with a wet thud. Mr. Rodriguez's heart is in this cooler, along with 3 others. I need a transport team to take them to the other hospitals immediately. The lobby falls silent except for the storm raging outside. Maya drips water onto the polished floor, her clothes ruined, her career probably over, but the cooler sits on the desk like a red beacon of hope. Dr. Kellerman's voice cuts through the silence like a scalpel. You're fired. The words hang in the air like poison. You're fired. Maya stares at Dr. Kellerman's face, rain still dripping from her hair onto the hospital floor, and feels something crack inside her chest. Not her heart that's still beating steadily after carrying 4 other hearts through hell. Something deeper. Her faith in doing the right thing. Dr. Kellerman, Dr. Walsh steps forward, his surgical scrubs pristine compared to Maya's mud-stained uniform. No. The chief of surgery's voice could cut glass. Nurse Chen violated direct orders, endangered hospital property, and put lives at risk with this reckless stunt. Her gray eyes lock on Maya's. Security will escort you from the premises immediately. Maya's legs threaten to give out. 7 years of nursing school, 4 years of ICU experience, 47, 0 in student loans for a career that just ended with 2 words in a flooded hospital lobby. She thinks of her mother, who worked double shifts at the diner to help pay for nursing school. She thinks of her father, who died believing his daughter would save lives the way no one could save his. The hearts made it, Maya whispers. All 4 of them, in time. That's irrelevant. Kellerman's voice doesn't soften even slightly. You're not authorized for organ transport. You have no training in preservation protocols. You could have killed 4 patients with your heroics. But Maya knows the truth. She checks her watch. 6:18 p.m. The first heart, Mr. Rodriguez's heart, will be in surgery within 30 minutes. The other 3 will reach their hospitals before the 8 p.m. deadline. 4 people will live because she broke the rules. Security arrives in the form of Bob Martinez, a grandfather of 6 who has worked the hospital for 15 years. His eyes apologize even as he steps forward. Maya, I'm sorry. I need you to come with me. She nods, unable to speak. Her career ends not with applause or recognition, but with the humiliation of being escorted out like a criminal. The medical staff parts before her as she walks toward the exit, some faces showing sympathy, others carefully neutral. Only Dr. Walsh speaks up. For what it's worth, Maya, what you did took courage. Dr. Kellerman spins on him. What she did was reckless and dangerous. What she did was save 4 lives. What she did was get lucky. Next time, there won't be a next time, Maya says quietly. You made sure of that. Bob walks her to the parking lot where her Honda sits like a wounded soldier, covered in mud and debris but still functioning. Maya gets behind the wheel, her wet clothes squelching against the fabric seats, and drives home in silence. Maya's phone starts ringing at 7:23 a.m. the next morning. The first call is from Channel 7 News. The second is from CNN. By 8 a.m., she has 47 missed calls from reporters, bloggers, and news outlets she's never heard of. The story has gone viral. Rogue nurse drives through hurricane, saves 4 lives, reads the headline on the national news website. But the subheading makes Maya's stomach twist. Hospital officials question dangerous actions that could have led to tragedy. She sits in her studio apartment, still wearing yesterday's scrubs because she was too exhausted to change, and reads the article that destroys what's left of her reputation. While Nurse Chen's intentions may have been admirable, hospital officials stress that proper protocols exist for a reason, said Dr. Sarah Kellerman, chief of surgery at Millfield General. Unauthorized organ transport puts patients at risk and creates liability issues that could affect future transplant operations. Maya scrolls down to the comments section, then immediately regrets it. Typical millennial thinking the rules don't apply to her. She got lucky. What if those organs had been damaged? Hospitals have protocols for a reason. She should have waited for proper authorization. But mixed in with the criticism are other voices. My father died waiting for a heart transplant. Thank God someone finally had the courage to act. 4 people are alive today because of her. That's all that matters. She's a hero whether the hospital admits it or not. Maya closes her laptop and stares at the wall. Her phone shows 73 unread messages, but she can't bring herself to look at them. Instead, she makes coffee with shaking hands and tries to figure out how to rebuild a life that imploded in the span of 18 hours. A knock at her door interrupts the silence. Maya opens it to find Mrs. Henderson from apartment 3B holding a casserole dish and wearing a sympathetic smile. I saw the news, honey. Brought you some lasagna. The elderly woman pushes past Maya into the small apartment. Those hospital people are idiots if they can't see a hero when it's standing right in front of them. Mrs. Henderson, don't you dare apologize for saving lives. My Harold was in the ICU for 3 weeks last year, and I know good nursing when I see it. She sets the casserole on Maya's tiny kitchen counter. Mark my words, this story isn't over. By evening, Maya's story has been picked up by every major news outlet. She watches herself on CNN, a photo from her hospital ID badge displayed next to footage of the flooded roads she navigated. The anchor calls her actions controversial but courageous, which somehow manages to sound like both praise and condemnation. Her phone buzzes with a text from her brother in Seattle. Mom's proud of you. So am I. The hospital's loss. Another text, this one from Jenny Rodriguez, the pediatric nurse. Mr. Placid O'Du. Rodriguez is doing great. Surgery went perfectly. He asked me to tell you gracias for giving him the chance to meet his grandson. Maya's eyes fill with tears for the first time since yesterday. Mr. Rodriguez will live. A 34-year-old teacher will live. A 16-year-old athlete will live. A 28-year-old mother of twins will live. 4 families will have their miracles. But Maya Chen, RN, employee ID 4471, will never work in medicine again. Not in Millfield. Probably not anywhere. Hospital administrators don't hire nurses with a reputation for breaking rules, no matter how noble the reason. She's 26 years old with 47, 0 in student loans, and no career prospects. The phone calls from reporters have stopped her story is already old news, replaced by the next viral sensation. Tomorrow, no one will remember the nurse who drove through a hurricane. Maya falls asleep on her couch, still wearing yesterday's scrubs, exhausted from a day of watching her life unravel in real time. She dreams of 4 beating hearts. Exactly 24 hours later, everything changes. Maya wakes to the sound of helicopters. At first, she thinks she's dreaming. The rhythmic thwop 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 of rotor blades cuts through the morning air, growing louder by the second. But when she sits up on her couch, still wearing yesterday's wrinkled scrubs, the sound is undeniably real. Her phone shows 247 missed calls. What the hell? Maya stumbles to her small window and peers through the blinds. The parking lot of her apartment complex is swarming with black SUVs, their windows tinted, their license plates unreadable. Men in dark suits speak into earpieces while scanning the building with professional intensity. Secret Service. Maya's brain struggles to process what she's seeing. This is Millfield, Pennsylvania, population 12,847, famous for nothing except a decent farmer's market and the fact that nothing interesting ever happens here. Secret Service agents don't just show up at rundown apartment complexes unless her phone rings. Unknown number. Maya Chen? Yes? Ma'am? This is Agent Sarah Collins with the United States Secret Service. I need you to listen carefully. President Martinez is en route to your location. You are not in any trouble, but we need you to remain in your apartment until we can escort you downstairs. Maya drops the phone. President Martinez. As in, the President of the United States. The leader of the free world is coming to her crappy studio apartment where she eats cereal for dinner and her coffee table is held together with duct tape. She picks up the phone again. Agent Collins? Yes, ma'am? Are you sure you have the right Maya Chen? A pause. You're the ICU nurse who drove through Hurricane Elena yesterday to transport 4 hearts? Yes, but then we have the right Maya Chen. 20 minutes later, Maya finds herself sitting across from the President of the United States in the community center of her apartment complex, a room that usually hosts bingo nights and resident meetings about parking violations. President Maria Elena Martinez is smaller in person than she appears on television, but her presence fills the space like a force of nature. Her dark hair is pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wears a navy blue suit that probably costs more than Maya's annual rent. But her eyes, warm brown eyes that seem to see everything, are focused entirely on Maya with an intensity that makes her squirm. Miss Chen, do you know why I'm here? Maya glances around the room, at the Secret Service agents standing at attention, at the presidential seal hastily mounted on a folding table, at the surreal scene of the most powerful person in the world sitting in plastic chairs meant for community center events. Honestly? No idea. President Martinez laughs a genuine sound that transforms her from political figure to person. I was in meetings yesterday when my chief of staff showed me a video on her phone. A security camera from Millfield General Hospital showing a young nurse carrying a medical cooler through floodwaters that reached her waist. Maya's cheeks burn. Ma'am, I just did what anyone would... No. The president's voice is firm but kind. That's where you're wrong. Not anyone would drive through a Category 4 hurricane to save strangers. Not anyone would risk their life and career because they couldn't stand to watch people die. That's not what anyone does, Miss Chen. That's what heroes do. The word hits Maya like a physical blow. Hero. She's never thought of herself that way. Heroes are people in movies, people in history books, people who do impossible things. She's just a nurse with student loans who couldn't bear to let Mr. Rodriguez die waiting. Ma'am, I lost my job. The hospital fired me for violating protocol. I know. President Martinez leans forward. I spoke with Dr. Kellerman this morning. Interesting conversation. Maya's eyes widen. You called my hospital? I called your former hospital, doctor. Kellerman is, shall we say, reconsidering her position on your employment status. The president's smile has a fake's edge that suggests the conversation hadn't gone entirely in Dr. Kellerman's favor. But the protocols, the liability? Ms. Chen, let me tell you something about protocols. They exist to handle normal situations. But yesterday wasn't normal. Yesterday was extraordinary. And extraordinary situations require extraordinary people who are willing to break rules when following them means watching people die. President Martinez stands and walks to the window, looking out at the apartment complex where Maya has lived for 3 years, where she pays rent with money left over after loan payments and groceries. I've been president for 8 months. In that time, I've met generals who've shown courage under fire, diplomats who've risked their careers for peace, scientists who've dedicated their lives to curing diseases. But yesterday, a 26-year-old ICU nurse in Pennsylvania reminded me what real heroism looks like. Maya's throat tightens. 4 people are alive because of what you did. A grandfather will watch his granddaughter graduate high school. A teacher will return to her classroom. A teenage athlete will play college soccer. A mother will raise her twins. How do you know all that? President Martinez turns back to Maya. Because I called them. All four of them. Mr. Dacian 12. Rodriguez at Millfield General asked me to give you a message. She pulls a folded piece of paper from her jacket pocket. He said to tell you that his granddaughter drew you a new picture, a nurse with angel wings. Maya's vision blurs with tears. Miss Chen, I didn't come here just to thank you. Though you deserve thanks. I came to offer you something. I'm establishing a new federal emergency medical response team, President Martinez continues. The incidence of extreme weather events are increasing, and we need people who can think outside the box when traditional systems fail. We need people with the courage to act when others hesitate. We need people like you. Maya stares at the president, her mind struggling to process the words. You're offering me a job? I'm offering you a chance to save more lives. Federal salary, full benefits, student loan forgiveness, and the authority to coordinate emergency medical transport during national disasters. The president pauses. Also, Congressional Medal of Freedom. We'll have the ceremony next month. The Congressional Medal of Freedom. Maya knows what that is, the highest civilian honor in the United States, given to people who've changed the world. Presidents. Nobel Prize winners. Civil rights leaders. Not nurses from Pennsylvania who drive beat-up Hondas. Ma'am, I don't understand. I just couldn't let those people die. Exactly. President Martinez sits back down, her expression serious. Do you know what the most common words are in heroism, Ms. Chen? I just did what anyone would do. I just couldn't stand by. I just acted without thinking. Heroes never think they're heroes. Maya's phone buzzes with a text. She glances at it automatically and freezes. It's from Dr. Kellerman. Your position has been reinstated. Report to work Monday. Head of Emergency Response. We need to talk. President Martinez notices Maya's expression. Dr. Kellerman called me back about 10 minutes ago. Seems she's had a change of heart about your employment status. Amazing how quickly perspectives can shift when the President of the United States takes a personal interest in someone's career. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. Because this country needs more Maya Chens and fewer people who hide behind protocols when lives are on the line. The President stands, and immediately the Secret Service agents straighten to attention. Miss Chen, you have 48 hours to consider my offer, but I hope you'll say yes. America needs heroes who don't know they're heroes. She walks toward the door, then pauses. Oh, and Miss Chen? Your Honda Civic is being transported to the Smithsonian Institution. They want to put it in the American History Museum. Apparently, someone thinks a muddy car that saved 4 lives belongs next to the Star-Spangled Banner. Maya's mouth falls open. My car is going to the Smithsonian? Heroes' vehicles often end up in museums. Lindbergh's plane, JFK's PT-109. President Martinez grins. Add Maya Chen's Honda to the list. Outside, Maya can hear the helicopter rotors spinning up. The President of the United States is about to leave her crappy apartment complex, returning to Air Force One and the business of running the most powerful nation on Earth. But first, she turns back one more time. Miss Chen, when you drove through that storm yesterday, what were you thinking? Maya considers the question. She remembers the rain hammering her windshield, the weight of 4 hearts in her back seat, the image of Mr. Rodriguez's granddaughter's drawing. I was thinking that someone had to try. President Martinez nods. That's what I thought. The helicopter doors open, and the president steps into the aircraft that will carry her away from Millfield, back to Washington, back to the corridors of power where decisions are made that affect millions of lives. But Maya Chen stands in the parking lot of her apartment complex, watching the helicopter disappear into the morning sky, and knows that her life will never be the same again. 6 weeks later, Maya Chen stands in the East Room of the White House, wearing a navy blue dress that cost more than her monthly rent, and feeling like an imposter among the gathering of dignitaries, congresspeople, and media representatives. The chandelier above her head weighs 700 pounds and contains 24 pieces of cut glass, a fact she learned from the White House tour guide, who seems to know the weight and composition of every object in the building. Her mother sits in the front row, tears streaming down her face, clutching a tissue that's already soaked through. Maya's brother Jake flew in from Seattle, his tech startup casual clothes replaced by a rented suit that almost fits. Even Mrs. Like Sartums. Henderson from apartment 3B is here, having somehow convinced the Secret Service that bringing her famous lasagna was a matter of national security. The Presidential Medal of Freedom. President Martinez announces from the podium, her voice carrying easily through the ornate room, is awarded to individuals who have made especially meritorious contributions to the security or national interests of the United States, to world peace, or to cultural or other significant public or private endeavors. Maya's hands shake as she stands, the weight of what's happening still feeling surreal. 6 weeks ago, she was unemployed with a ruined reputation. Today, she's about to receive the highest civilian honor in the United States. Maya Chen, the president continues, exemplifies the very best of American heroism, not because she sought glory or recognition, but because when confronted with an impossible choice between following rules and saving lives, she chose compassion over comfort, courage over compliance. The audience filled with people who've shaped laws, led corporations, and changed the world rises to applaud a 26-year-old nurse who drove through a hurricane in a Honda Civic. Maya walks toward the president, her legs feeling like they belong to someone else. President Martinez places the medal around Maya's neck, the weight of it surprisingly substantial. The ribbon is red, white, and blue, and the golden medallion bears the eagle and stars that represent everything she's ever loved about this country. Thank you for reminding us, the president whispers just loud enough for Maya to hear, that heroism isn't about being fearless, it's about being afraid and acting anyway. The reception following the ceremony buzzes with conversations that will reshape Maya's life. She holds a glass of champagne she hasn't touched, overwhelmed by the parade of offers being presented to her by people she's only seen on television. Dr. Rebecca Steinberg, Chief Medical Officer at Johns Hopkins, approaches with the kind of smile that could launch medical careers. Miss Chen, we'd like to offer you the position of Director of Emergency Medical Response. Full professorship, $275, zero annually, plus research funding. Before Maya can respond, she's approached by Dr. Michael Chang from the Centers for Disease Control. Maya, may I call you Maya? We're creating a new rapid response division. You'd head a team of 40 specialists, report directly to the director, 320, zero base salary. The offers keep coming. Harvard Medical wants her to develop their new disaster response program. The American Red Cross offers her a vice presidency. A pharmaceutical company wants to fund her own research institute. Each conversation presents a future she never imagined possible. But through it all, Maya finds herself thinking about Mr. Rodriguez, who's probably sitting in his hospital bed right now, playing cards with his granddaughter and complaining about the jello. She thinks about the 3 other patients whose lives intersected with hers for one miraculous day, and about all the people still waiting for miracles that might never come. Dr. Patricia Voss, the transplant coordinator from Regional Medical Center, finds Maya during a quiet moment near the windows, overlooking the White House lawn. Maya, I wanted to tell you something. Dr. Voss's eyes are bright with emotion. In 20 years of coordinating organ transport, I've never seen anything like what you did. But more importantly, what you did has inspired changes in emergency protocols nationwide. The FDA is revising disaster response guidelines because of your actions. What do you mean? They're creating provisions for civilian emergency transport when professional services are unavailable, training programs for hospital staff, mobile preservation units that can function during natural disasters. Dr. Voss pauses. 4 people lived because you broke the rules, but hundreds more will live because your rule-breaking forced us to write better rules. Maya stares out at the perfectly manicured White House grounds, processing what Dr. Voss is telling her. Her single act of desperation has rippled outward, creating systems and protocols that will save lives she'll never know about in disasters that haven't happened yet. There's something else, Dr. Voss continues. We received a $50 million federal grant to establish regional emergency medical response centers in rural areas. The program is being called the Maya Chen Initiative. The Maya Chen Initiative. Her name will be attached to a program designed to ensure that no one else has to make the choice she made between following protocol and saving lives. That evening, Maya finds herself back in Millfield, in the same community center where President Martinez had first visited her. But now the room is packed with reporters, cameras, and microphones as she prepares to make the announcement that will define the rest of her life. She's turned down every offer except one. Thank you all for coming, Maya begins, her voice steadier than she feels. 6 weeks ago, I was an unemployed nurse with student loans and a broken-down Honda. Today, thanks to the incredible generosity of President Martinez and the American people, I've been offered opportunities I never dreamed possible. The cameras flash as she pauses, gathering her thoughts. I've been offered positions at some of the most prestigious medical institutions in the world. Salaries that would let me pay off my loans tomorrow and live comfortably for the rest of my life. Research opportunities that could advance emergency medicine for decades. Maya looks out at the crowd, seeing her mother's proud face, Mrs. Henderson's encouraging nod, and dozens of reporters waiting for her decision. I'm turning them all down. The room erupts in surprised murmurs. Instead, I'm accepting President Martinez's offer to head the new Federal Emergency Medical Response Team. But I'm asking her to headquarter the program right here in Millfield, in a new training facility that will be built where the old Miller farm used to stand. Maya thinks of Tom Miller's paranoid elevated road that saved her life and 4 others. This facility will train emergency responders from rural communities across America, nurses, paramedics, volunteer firefighters, and ordinary citizens who might one day face the choice between protocol and life. We'll call it the Rural Heroes Medical Institute. She reaches into her jacket and pulls out a check her speaking fee from 3 television appearances. Her advance from the book deal publishers are begging her to sign, and her Medal of Freedom ceremony honorarium. I'm donating $147,000 to establish the Institute's first scholarship fund. But more importantly, I'm asking every community in America to identify their own Maya Chens, the people who will act when others hesitate, who will drive through storms when others say it's impossible. Maya looks directly into the CNN camera that's broadcasting her speech live across the country. Heroes aren't born. They're trained. They're supported. They're given the tools and authority to act when systems fail and lives hang in the balance. She holds up the Medal of Freedom, its golden surface gleaming under the community center's fluorescent lights. This medal doesn't belong to me alone. It belongs to every person who's ever chosen compassion over compliance, every emergency responder who's risked their safety for strangers, every ordinary person who's done extraordinary things because someone had to try. Maya Chen, Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient, turns toward the cameras with the weight of 4 saved hearts in her smile and the future of emergency medicine in her hands. She smiles and turns the gift outward to a world full of potential heroes waiting for their moment to act. The autumn sun filters through the tall windows of the Rural Heroes Medical Institute, casting golden rectangles across the training floor where 23 emergency responders practice cardiac preservation techniques. Maya watches from the observation deck as Dr. Sarah Kim demonstrates the proper way to secure a medical cooler in a civilian vehicle during extreme weather conditions. It's been 6 months since President Martinez signed the emergency legislation that created the Maya Chen Initiative, and already the results are measurable. Response times in rural communities have improved by an average of 340%. The Institute has trained 847 emergency responders from 42 states. Most importantly, 17 successful civilian organ transports have been completed during natural disasters, saving 31 lives. Maya's phone buzzes with a text from her brother. "Saw you on Good Morning America. Dad would be proud." Her father's photo now sits on her desk in the Institute's administrative office, the same faded picture that used to be taped to her hospital locker. William Chen, factory worker, age 43, who died waiting for a heart that never came. Next to it sits a newer photo. Mr. and St. Rodriguez at his granddaughter's 8th birthday party, blowing out candles on a cake shaped like a stethoscope. "Director Chen?" Dr. Kim's voice comes through the intercom system. "We're ready for the final exercise." Maya nods and activates the building's severe weather simulation system, one of the few perks of having a federal budget. The training floor fills with artificial fog, while speakers play the sound of 90 miles per hour winds and pounding rain. The trainees must navigate the obstacle course while protecting their precious cargo, practice hearts that cost $50 each to manufacture and are as fragile as the real thing. This is what Maya is most proud of, not the Medal of Freedom hanging in her office, not the book deal she finally signed, with all proceeds going to expand the Institute. Not even the fact that her Honda Civic sits in the Smithsonian next to exhibits about American courage. She's proud that 23 people who were ordinary citizens yesterday are becoming extraordinary responders today. At 4:30 p.m., Maya drives her replacement Honda, a 2024 model that the Institute purchased for official business, though she still misses her muddy old Warrior, to Millfield General Hospital for her weekly volunteer shift. President Martinez had offered to make her head of the Federal Emergency Medical Response Team full-time, but Maya insisted on splitting her time between the Institute and actual patient care. She parks in space 47, her old spot, which Dr. Kellerman had designated reserved for Director Chen, with a small plaque that makes Maya cringe with embarrassment every time she sees it. The ICU still sounds the same, ventilators breathing, monitors beeping, the soft whoosh of pneumatic doors. But now Maya walks these hallways as Director of Emergency Response, wearing scrubs that say Rural Heroes Medical Institute instead of her old Target specials. Bed 7 has a new occupant, Mrs. Patricia Williams, age 68, waiting for a liver transplant. Her granddaughter's drawing is taped to the monitor, a crayon house with a rainbow overhead and "Get well, Grandma" written in purple marker. Some things never change. Maya checks Mrs. Williams' vitals and adjusts her IV drip, her hands moving with the same practiced efficiency she learned 7 years ago in nursing school. But now there's something different in her movements, a confidence that comes from knowing that, when the impossible becomes necessary, she has the authority and resources to act. "Nurse Maya?" Mrs. Williams' voice is weak but hopeful. "Do you think my liver will come soon?" Mrs. Williams' voice is weak. Maya looks at the grandmother, whose eyes hold the same mixture of fear and hope she once saw in Mr. Rodriguez's face. But this time, Maya knows that if a storm comes, if roads flood, if traditional transport fails, there are 847 trained responders across the country ready to drive through hell to save lives. "I think," Maya says, adjusting the blanket around Mrs. Williams' shoulders, "that when your liver comes, it's going to make it to you no matter what." As Maya finishes her shift and walks toward the parking lot, her phone shows a notification from the weather app. Severe thunderstorm watch. Possible flooding. She looks up at the darkening sky, where heavy clouds are gathering over Millfield. 6 months ago, this weather alert would have filled her with dread. Now it represents opportunity, a chance for the systems she helped create to prove their worth. Maya gets into her Honda and drives toward the Institute, where emergency protocols are already activating. Somewhere out there, a trained responder is checking their vehicle, loading emergency equipment, and preparing to be someone's miracle. The last rays of sunlight break through the storm clouds, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Maya Chen drives toward the future she helped create, where heroes are trained instead of stumbling into heroism, where protocols serve life instead of constraining it, and where no one has to choose between following rules and saving lives. In her rearview mirror, Millfield General Hospital grows smaller but remains illuminated against the gathering storm, its windows glowing like beacons of hope in the darkening world. Some storms bring destruction, others bring heroes home.